Hi, this is your host, Miriam Khan at Raise Your Vibes. Today we have a really interesting podcast. We have some beautiful guests with us, which is Nada and Christopher. Welcome, Nada and Christopher, to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
No worries. I have been obviously communicating with you both for a while to get you on the show. I had come across your account by accident, but nothing spiritually is ever by accident. And obviously I was really intrigued at all the different courses you're able to deliver, and I'm sure we're going to delve into that in a bit more depth. But first, what I'd like to do is just to do a bit of introduction so the people that are listening can get a bit of an insight into both your backgrounds. So Nada, could I start with you? Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into spirituality?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was kind of born spiritual. I always felt that I was very different than a lot of people in terms of my level of awareness, right? I always saw things that weren't there. I could feel people's emotions. You know, we're all empaths, right? Everyone that's on this path. But it really got catalyzed when I was 14 years old. I had a car accident, and I kind of my aunt was driving the car, and I kind of flew out of the car, and I hit my head on a rock. And what happened is I kind of left my body. So I died for a couple of minutes. And when I left my body, I could clearly see that life was much more than the physical, and that there were angels, and that there was dark energies, and that we were kind of like in this beautiful multi-dimensional library earth, but was also within a matrix. I kind of saw it all. Now everything happened so slowly, but everything was happening so fast at the same time. Saw everything quantumly and energetically, and then I decided to go back to my body, because then I realized that my body was lying on the ground and everyone was crying over my body. They thought I had died. And then within a mini second, I woke up in my body. Obviously, I had to go get stitches and stuff. I had bashed my head. But ever since then, I was very fluid in the energetic world. You know, I understood astral travel. I understood a lot about energy. That's really what catalyzed my spiritual path.
I read experience. I mean, sadly, as well, that must have been very frightening as well at the same time.
You know, it felt very free. Yeah. I felt very free. When I came back to my body, I started to feel the density of my body. You see, like when we are in the energetic world, there is no time and space. So there was a lot of freedom. There was no mind either. It was just presence. I was just present. But then when I came back, obviously, you know, I started feeling all the pain in my head because I had to get stitches and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then right after I went to my first spiritual course, I remember taking a course. I was 14 or 15 years old with this guru in India. There weren't that many healers back then. Remember, I'm an 80s girl. So he was one of rare gurus. His name was Sri Ravi Shankar. And I did this course that taught me about the ego and how to integrate the ego and how to, you know, be in a place of love and forgiveness. And that really was the beginning of it all.
Wow. What a beautiful journey you had since then. I mean, it sounds, to some people listening, it sounds very horrific, doesn't it? And some people won't understand what you're going through. But some people come to that experience much, much later on, and we all have very, very different spiritual journeys from each other, don't we? I think it's interesting how you've used that to help you now. What about yourself, Chris?
You know, my spiritual journey has been, it's been evolving, you know, as new things unravel and as we go deeper into our own work. Yeah. But in childhood, I always knew from a very young age that there was a lot of control mechanism and certain distortions in certain areas of life. Like for me, I knew that religion was very off from a very young age. I knew something wasn't right with religions, you know, the governments and how things were running. So my spiritual journey sort of started on that path where I started to see beyond the veil when it comes to our society and how everything is laid out from a governmental aspect and, you know, the religion aspect and these facets of life. So that is what catalyzed me into wanting to understand deeper. And in my 20s, I went down into this this deeper understanding of, societies behind the scenes, the way the money works. And it really started to open me up to wanting to understand the truth.
Yeah.
Because I was so fixated on, this aspect of reality, the control aspect. I wanted to shift my understanding of reality into an empowerment phase, wanting to take what I learned from that into how we as humans can be sovereign, how we can be empowered. So I would say for me on my spiritual journey, one of the biggest things that catalyzed me spiritually was when my mother passed about, I'd say it's 7 years ago now. And when she passed, something just clicked within me. I don't even know exactly what it was, but something just shifted. And that's when I really started shifting my focus into the empowerment phase of my spiritual journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm sorry for your loss. These things, in life are not very easy, are they, when we lose a parent or a loved one? Many people can relate to that. After this sad time, how was that spirituality opening you up, I guess?
It made me really want to go deeper into spiritual practices, spiritual understandings. I started to, take a lot of courses. I got certified hypnotherapy. I wanted to understand the mind more. So it really got me into a perspective where I wanted to understand life at a much deeper level than what I had previously. Yeah. So with my mom's death, it sort of opened up my vision of what is possible and what I, really want to experience, what I want to learn.
I'm sure there's many, many people that are like listening into this, and, some people do go through that different awakening or different understanding of what spirituality means. For me, very similar to the two of you, some incidences occurred where I was questioning religion, where I was questioning faith, and also looking within. And there's quite a lot of people that still don't understand what spirituality is. They sort of label it with a box, don't they? And they don't really understand what it actually means, The two of you are obviously running a really, really successful business, and you're offering lots of different courses. So, Nada, would you like to explain a little bit about how that came about? Were you doing other jobs at the time before starting this particular route that you're on now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, when I told you, like, at 14, when I had my catalyst journey, I decided that, I want to master every single part of life, because I knew that it was so temporary, and I wanted to make the best of what I was going to experience while I was here. And I was so hungry to just know everything, right? So I kind of studied like every single modality that's out there. And every time I studied them, it would help me for a bit. But then I realized that there's more to life. There's more to life. I didn't hit the nail on the head yet. And I really got deep into like the path of the feminine, and really understanding like divine unions and the ascension and the light body. And, I really got into plant medicine. So I had like a very diverse experience. And I had started a company called Elevated Vibrations, where I would, do healing sessions and help women become empowered and help people activate their light bodies. And then Christopher and I met online about 5 years ago, and he was running his own company, which was called Lion Realignment Energetics, where he was also doing the similar but kind of opposite. Like, he was helping men activate their like sacred warrior energy, but he was also teaching about the matrix and sovereignty from the matrix, and activating those ascension codes inside our sacred heart. So when we met, we kind of merged our companies together, and we put the best of our expertise together, and we designed this. It's kind of like an academy. I kind of see it like a movement. We're really inviting people to step up into their full power, their full sovereignty, claim themselves, and live as these beautiful source beings, having this multidimensional access to the infinite possibilities of what's available for them. And that's when we created New Earth Masters.
What a beautiful, beautiful name. What a beautiful combination of how you've both come together as well. I think it's really beautiful that there's a guy actually leading other guys into spirituality, because in some parts of the world that's very taboo and very unheard of too. Like a lot of people do it, but do it in secret, if you know what I mean. They're a bit shy to say.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
There's a lot. There's a lot of like shyness with men really, even talking about their issues, talking about their emotions. But the work that Christopher does is so sacred, because if like it is so essential. It is so like I'm saying, like, you people can't see me right now, but when I say so essential, I mean capitalized, highlighted, italic, and underlined. It is so essential for men to rise into their divine power, because that is really the beginning of how we are going to have the new earth come online. It cannot happen if men are stuck in their wounds, because it is men that are going to lead the way for the new earth to come about. You see?
Yeah, I see that. Some people don't necessarily understand it fully. I recently I did Reiki a long time ago. I did Reiki courses. Recently, I did my Reiki master, and I've done Angelic master as well. And, it's interesting doing those courses, because you'll have friends going, you're cuckoo, you're wacko, They don't understand it, no matter how much you try and explain. And then when you try and explain it to a male friend, there is still that like red tape around it. And a lot of it is fear. Some of it is lack of understanding. Then you do meet, and it's rare nugget, as I would call it, that rare breed of guy that really does get it. So, Christopher, what sort of challenges did you come across when you were trying to help males in particular with their spiritual journey?
Well, I would say the biggest thing was I had to undo my own conditioning, because as a man, like other men, I had a lot of limitations within myself with speaking out, being seen in front of other men. So my journey of empowering men has really helped me see what is stopping men from becoming their divine masculine.
Yes.
So it's been a gift of, understanding myself on a deeper level, so I can help men on a deeper level with their own masculine, because there's so many layers to it.
Definitely.
When it comes to, a man living from his heart, a man accepting his worth, a man operating from his divine power, and dissolving away all this distortion of the masculine that 99.9% of all men have buried in their subconscious, buried in their DNA, buried within themselves, that it's time for men to go in their hearts, in their beingness, and strip away these illusions and these distortions.
Sometimes it's very hard to do that, because you know yourself that society places a lot of stereotypes. I mean, prior, I'm a late 70s child, but I know there's still quite a lot of stereotypes and sort of dogma, also pressure put on guys, even females. I'm someone who provides for myself. There's still that stigma in society that you must do this, you must work like this. And when you go outside of the box, so to speak, you face the same opposition again, don't you? So what advice would you give somebody, for example, in that particular situation?
I would say for men that the most courageous journey they can make is the journey into their hearts. And they have to be okay with the unknown. They have to surrender to the process. And they have to have faith within themselves and source within themselves on this journey, because for men to make the change, they're going to have to let go of, what other people think of them, how people around them are, people are going to fade out of their life. So for men to really walk this path, they have to be 100% committed to wanting to be their divine masculine, to be the divine man that they came here to be. So I would say for men to start this journey, they have to look at themselves in the mirror and tell themselves that they're going in all the way. Because this is not a path that can be done halfway, 70%. They have to go all in to become the divine masculine that they've come here to be.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times when there's people that, they don't do the whole surrendering. They don't do the letting go of fear. It's layers, isn't it? It's stripping back the layers and being comfortable within yourself first and accepting that role within yourself first. Nada, what about you? You obviously deal with the other aspect of this. So what advice would you give in regards to that, say to females?
Like what I found, with the path of the feminine, even though women are more open to the concept of spirituality, when it comes to, like, if you go, to example, to like a Reiki class or a meditation class, you will find more women there than men. But what I found that when it comes to actually talking about the divine feminine and the womb work, that same fear that you were talking about earlier rises up. Now, the reason why women carry this fear about their divine feminine and men carry the fear around their divine masculine is because people kind of like become reborn, right? And people are attached to their identities so much. So when a woman embraces her womb, she rises. She becomes this grand, ferocious, graceful, magnificent woman. But for her to do that, it's kind of like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The caterpillar has to go away. Like, the caterpillar no longer is a caterpillar, right? Because you can't be both at the same time. So there is always resistance with change. The ego loves to keep us in our comfort zone. I mean, that's why it's there. It's like, please stay in the comfort zone. I'm safer here. But, when women do start walking the path of the feminine and you don't need to run there. You don't need to climb the mountain in one day. It's like step by step, but that step by step is going to take you there. What I've noticed, I've worked with thousands of women so far. The second they put their toe in the water and they just feel what that temperature is, they be like, all right, I want to explore more of this. And because this information and experiences that have kind of like been hidden from women and men for centuries, this divinity that lies within us, this power that lies within us, this sovereignty that we are angelic beings in human form. So the challenge is, what I face is just that resistance. But, when a woman puts her foot in the water, she's going to start to want to swim. The most important thing I feel, and what we experience, Christopher and I, is that, trust has to be there. People are afraid to, like you said earlier, they're afraid to trust the process. Yeah. So us facilitators, our biggest role and what we do is, we hold that really safe container for people to feel like, okay, I can take a breath and let go and trust these people to hold space for me while I go through this process.
Yeah. So both of you obviously are running your business and you're offering various particular courses. So Christopher, coming back to you, which particular course would you say, out of all the various courses that you are running at the moment, would you say that people are inquiring about or needing from you at the moment? Can you tell us a bit about it?
Well, New Earth Masters, all of our courses are amazing. We have 12 courses on New Earth Masters that will help people in every single area of life. So those courses are tailored specifically towards certain aspects of empowerment, ascension, spiritual work. The course that I am currently focused on with helping men is called Rise Warrior. Now, Rise Warrior is a journey for men. It is a mentorship with, course material. There's so much powerful content in this mentorship for men that when they start, by the time they finish, they're completely different men. So that is what I'm focusing on now, to assist men get from, one area to another area in their development. So that is what I'm focusing on now. And, in Rise Warrior, we go through everything that every man needs to understand to master his masculinity and to master his life, and how to rise into his masculinity from a healthy place and take charge of his reality from a much more empowered leadership role.
Okay, beautiful. Obviously, in the biography of the podcast, we're going to include the various details of how to get in touch with you and obviously how to go about booking you. So obviously we'll include that details in there. Nada, obviously you also do various other courses as well, as Chris has just said. Which particular course would you say at the moment is something that you feel quite a lot of people are joining up about or wanting to know more about from you?
You know, I love all our courses. Each course that we have has a very special place in my heart. It's kind of like when a woman has 10 kids, she loves them all equally in her own special way.
Yeah.
Because each course, you see, even though like I studied every single modality out there, you know, I developed my own way. Christopher developed his own way to help people reach certain goals. And the way we do it is like there's no fluff. It's like the fastest, easiest way possible that gives you all the tools, all the awareness, all the information you need to know, but also has all the shifts within them. And like each course has its own speciality. Like we have one about royal spirit. It's all about abundance. And it's like a one-stop that has everything in it. We have a course, for example, called Cosmic Alchemy, and it's also a one-stop to know everything about healing, like the inner child, the subconscious mind, the sound healing, light body work, etc. You know, we have a course called Light Warrior that is one of our clients' favorite courses, which is talked a lot about in the spiritual path. A lot of people are afraid of this subject, and honestly, I was terrified of the subject a long time ago. But we have a course that teaches people how to work with, like, you know, removing entities and taking curses and black magic and all this dark stuff out of people and situations to make their life better state. You know, how to like clear reptilian coding and all that like dense stuff. So we have a lot of courses that cover so many different things. And when it comes to helping women, I do two specific things. One of them is called the She Module, where I help spiritual women discover their unique gift. Every single woman that is conscious, that is on the path, is a priestess. And that means she's here to create an impact on the planet. But most women don't know what they came here to do, even though most women know deep within them, there's something so special about them. They just don't know what it is. Yeah. So what I do is I help them discover their divine gifts. Then I help them create a program out of it. And then I teach them how to create a profitable spiritual business so they can fulfill their life purpose. The second thing that I do with women, it's called She Loves. And I teach women how to become the grandest, like queen priestess energy in a relationship. So she can have that divine union, because women don't know how to be safe with men. Women don't know how to use their energy to influence relationships. And this really teaches women how to like really master the art of conscious relationships so they can be happy and they can have this harmonious union with their beloveds. So if you're going to ask me, like, what is one thing I'm focusing on now, it's not really the courses, because the courses are there, but what I'm focusing right now is, you know, my retreat that's coming up in August. I have a retreat coming up in August. I'm really excited about it. I run it every year. It's called I Am Priestess, and this year it's going to be held in Bali, and it's a 7-day feminine initiation to help women, you know, really transform into their divine feminine, using like shamanic work, using quantum work, and really just embodying their full priestess self.
Beautiful. And obviously we can find details about that on your website. If people are wanting to join or find out more information, you'll have that details on there, right? For them to
like on our website, people can read more about us. They can see all our courses. They can see all the private sessions we offer. You know, they can see the retreats. They can check out Rise Warrior, the one that Christopher was talking about, the She Module, She Loves, our store, like everything's there. It's kind of like our manual.
Cool. I think both of you have touched on quite a lot of very, very important, key messages. I have been working with quite a lot of people, including myself. You know, we're always working on ourselves. We're always trying to evolve in ourselves. But there are a lot of people, you know, in trauma. There are a lot of people caught up in the past. There are people not understanding their true selves. And I think it's really beautiful that the work that you're doing, I'm doing, other people that I know on a spiritual level are trying to do, because we're trying to help humanity. At the end of the day, we're trying to help people to grow and to remember their sole purpose. Sometimes we forget that, don't we? Whilst we're here. So I think it's beautiful that the two of you are working on that. Are there any key messages that you want to give to anyone who perhaps is like into spirituality for the first time? They don't really know, like you said earlier, they're dipping that toe in the water. They're not really sure what it means. What advice would you give, Christopher, for somebody that's, experienced spirituality for the first time, but they're a little bit scared, a little bit daunted about what it actually means? What advice would you give them?
Well, the first advice I would give is to just start, baby steps in the beginning, because there's so much material out there now. There's so much information that to go in with, an open mind and open heart, and to, one of the biggest things that I would share with anyone that is starting the spiritual journey is using discernment with the information out there as well.
Yes.
So, understanding that people that are just now getting into the spiritual journey, to take your time and to follow your heart, and to continue to make steps every single day to get where you want to go.
Beautiful.
Because, the spiritual journey is a journey. Yeah. It's not a destination. It's not something where someone's going to get to a certain point. Like I'm perfect. Everything's fine. It is a journey. So layers will surface as you understand more about spirituality, as you go deeper into your healing phases, so understand that it is a process.
Yeah, beautifully. I think that I couldn't have said it better myself, Christopher. Thank you. What about you, Nada? What would you say?
Like, if somebody is starting their spiritual journey, I would like to share with them that, first of all, like, what is the spiritual journey, right? The spiritual journey is not really, like, what is a spiritual journey? Like, you are a spiritual person. You're not here to become someone you're not, because you are a blessing created from the creator here on the planet. And we forget that when we are born. We forget that when we are, conditioned with all the trauma we experience from either our parents or the school or whatever it may be. Everybody has their own path. But this trauma is actually something that, we have all chosen on a soul level, because this trauma is actually going to become transformed into your gift one day. And when we walk on the spiritual path, it can be very confusing and it can be very scary. And it can be like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We're dancing the cha-cha with ourselves. The most important thing is, don't judge yourself. Don't assess yourself. Don't put yourself in a box. The more you welcome your freedom, the more you welcome yourself to love yourself, to be easy and gentle on yourself, and most importantly, to choose the best thing you can possibly do for yourself day in, day out. That is the spiritual journey, uncovering all what is false and bringing forward all that is true, which is love. And you are love, and you are always going to be love. So like Christopher said, it's baby steps, like go baby steps. And then just like a baby, sometimes the baby's going to run. Then the baby wants to sit down and just chill for a couple of hours. And then maybe you want to fly, but then maybe you want to just, go a bit backwards. It's okay. It's all okay. The most important thing here is that sometimes people want to give up. And the reason they want to give up is because, they just be like, okay, life was just so much easier before I started dealing with trauma, or life is so much easier before I started, or why do I need to go into my pain? It's in the past. Yeah. Like, don't let the voice of doubt rob you from your biggest opportunities. And don't let fear ever stop you from becoming the grandest version of yourself. Yeah.
Fear is one of those things that we have around us from a very, very early age. And sometimes, we let society condition us, like you said. Sometimes we let our parents carry that trauma, and sometimes we do it ourselves. And you touched upon some really good, important points, because love, as you said, is a difficult one. And sometimes we don't love ourselves enough. And whether we're looking at it from an outside source or from within, we sometimes forget. And one of the things I've been saying for the last year and a half is, the Clint Eastwood style, the good, the bad, the ugly, but I attach the beautiful as well. Making sure we remember the beauty. It's true. We have to attach that beautiful side to us as well, because there are going to be days where we look at our shadow self. There are going to be days where we look at parts of our behaviour And we look at it and we think, actually, the way I behaved or the way I conditioned myself wasn't actually acceptable. But this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to change that behavior. I'm going to work on myself. And that's what we call shadow work, isn't it? And some people don't do that. Some people won't, as you've said, they won't put the work into themselves. And sometimes we give up, you know. But like you said, I think what's beautiful, what the two of you are doing in your various courses is allowing people somewhere to go, right? And to be heard and to be recognized. I think that's one of the very beautiful things that you do through your courses, if you don't mind me saying. And that is...
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I think our planet needs a lot more of that. A lot more of that. Because we get caught up. I think after COVID, I personally found, because my background is in teaching as well as coaching and life, you know, I do many hats, and counseling, I do lots of things. But I found, I don't know about you, lots more people were more open to spirituality, mindfulness, and so on after COVID happened. It was almost like an awakening to lots of people, which was quite nice to come across. Did you experience that yourself, Nada, at any point? Did you find that people were more receptive to you, or it might have been different for you, perhaps?
You know, I did notice with the world that COVID gave them the opportunity to sit with themselves. Yeah. COVID gave them the opportunity to have a bit of self-reflection and get to know themselves more, because a lot of people are on the go, right? And it's like the work and the family and the kids and the drinks and whatever. So it was it was like this breakthrough for people to just be like, get to know myself again. Like, who am I, right? Like for us, you know, we didn't really get affected that much with COVID because, you know, we're very dedicated to the path. But with our clients, we did notice them talking about how their environment started to change a bit more. Like people are more receptive to meditation. People are more receptive to, you know, angelic work. People are more receptive to hear these things. So absolutely, you know, and COVID is a beautiful example. You know, when people like look at their traumas, sometimes they say like, why did this happen to me when I was a child? Right. Yeah. And then like we can take that on a macro scale, like COVID was a catastrophe on a lot of areas of life, but it was also a blessing to every other area of life, because, you know, there's always a cycle, the yin yang, you know, with every chaos, there's like a blissful event that occurs after that. So that's really that. You know, you did say something very interesting that I wanna touch on, where you said that people are afraid, right? Yeah. I want to share. People are afraid to invest in themselves, and then I you know, this message came to me that I want to share. Sure. Like you know, you're listening to this and you're wondering, like, how can I have a better love life? How can I become a happier person? How can I become a healthier person? How can I make more money? How can I do something that fulfills my soul? Like, a lot of people ask these questions looking outside themselves. Like, how can I my life? But and I've done that myself, right? So I get it. But the truth is, life is just a mirror of where the person is at with their emotional and vibratory state. So if you want to change things in your life, the easiest thing to do, the easiest way to do that, like you have two ways to do that. One, go out there and literally change everything in your life. You're going to probably fight against the current because life is going to be life. Yes. But if you really want to change things, the easy way is really just release your fears and become a more, you know, compassionate, loving person. So instead of looking outwards, go inwards. And the best investment a person can ever make is the investment of their soul evolution.
Correct. I think that's a beautiful, touching thing, because I relate to that in many, 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 many levels. I started traveling in 2015, always wanted to travel abroad. And I basically sold up, gave up my belongings, quit my job, was in a high-paying job, and something was pulling me to go traveling. And I'd started my spiritual journey way before, but you know when you get stuck in that 9-to-5 quote job, you know, as much as you love it, as much as you know, but you know you're here for something else. And I remember,
absolutely,
yeah, you get me. And I remember people saying to me, you're crazy. What are you doing? You're giving up this big position and you're going to just go off traveling. You haven't got a plan. You haven't got this. I was like, yeah. And I haven't been back for 8 years, you know? And they were like, you'll be back in 3 months. I'm like, nope. You'll be back in 6 months. Nope. It never happened. And, those same people that were criticizing me are not understanding, really, to be fair. Now they're like, wow, whoa, oh my God, look what you've done. I said, yeah, because, excuse my French, I got off my arse and did something about it, I made the changes. And yes, don't get me wrong, Nada, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of fear. But also, I had to be intrepid and I had to let go of those fears. And those fears were coming from me. Society kept trying to put stuff on me, but they were trying to drown me in it, but I kept swimming against the tide. And sometimes you have to not listen to the naysayers. You have to really listen to yourself. And that's hard in the society. There's many people that will give in. And I can understand, and I can get it, that you relate to. I'm sure both of you do. Sometimes people will change our mindset. And that's another thing that came out of COVID as well. I think people opened their mindset. People were open to be more receptive to have these conversations. And you're right, people had to sit with themselves, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful. And it's not always easy, is it, to shine that torchlight on yourself and go, yeah, that I should do more. Like, I should be helpful to my neighbor more. I should be kind with myself. I should be, not fixated on this particular thing and be doing this instead to help my soul on my soul level. What about you, Chris? Can you relate to some of these things that Nada and I are talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. On the other side of fear is where people's dreams live.
Yes.
They just have to move through that wall. Yes. And trust in themselves, walk forward, in a courageous way, because like you said, there will be people around you from time to time that will try and sway you, that will try and, change your mind. And part of it is because they don't understand it.
Yes.
Because they live in their own box, in their own life, that the freedom, this, doing whatever you want, whenever you want is terrifying to them.
Yes. What else would you say that when they're in that particular situation, some people can get out, can't they? When they're in that fear zone. Some people, when they're in their box, now and again, they climb out. Some go back in. Would you agree or would you disagree with that?
Yeah, everyone has the power to get out of the box. Absolutely. It just depends on the individual having the dedication and the willpower within themselves to dissolve that box and being okay with the unknown. Because the reason why people stay in the box is because the box keeps them in a safe space. And the box will try and trick them to go into fear that anytime they think about getting outside of the box will try and keep them there. So anyone and everyone that wants to get out of their own limitations, out of their own jail cell that they've created for themselves, they have to have the willpower and the dedication and the focus to dissolve it and to continue moving forward and never looking back. That's the most important thing, because what can happen with some people is the old programming from sometimes these old fears may come back up. It'll try to drag them back into that space, but they have to be fully dedicated to continue moving forward into the unknown and having the faith within themselves that everything's going to be all right.
Yes. A lot of the time.
And like this, sorry. I just want to share this is the thing that I find what people struggle with the most is all right, but how do I get this faith? How do I get this faith to actually trust the unknown, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to share for people that are thinking of really fulfilling their life purpose or listening to their soul's calling, but then they're, scared shitless on actually taking the step or making that move, right? I want to give you 3 tips of advice that helped me on my journey. Number 1, this is not typical. You probably won't go to a healer and the healer is going to tell you to do this, but this really helped me and every single client that I brought this to. I sat one day and I asked myself, what if I was dying tomorrow? What if my life ends tomorrow? We don't know when we're going to die, We don't know if we're going to get hit by a bus, but I just sat with myself and hypothetically speaking, what if I die tomorrow? What would I be doing differently today? And when I would ask my clients this, that were scared to like leave their corporate job and write that book. And again, please, I'm not telling you to leave your corporate job. I'm telling you, listen to your soul's calling, right? Yeah. Or like, you know, the client that, you know, that wanted to like leave that toxic marriage to actually meet somebody that's going to love her, or any change that can create fear. You know, if you ask yourself, like, if I was truly going to die, like, what am I going to do? Is this the last thing that I'm going to do? I'm going to go send the report to my boss. I'm going to let my, you know, toxic husband, you know, tell me off one more time right before I die. That's not what you're going to do. If you ask yourself, if I was to die, like, what am I going to do? You probably want to go dancing, go painting, you know, travel somewhere, start your own blog. Like your soul, you know, has so much beauty in it and so much beauty to offer yourself in the world. But the only thing that scares us is fear. But what if we faced our ultimate fear, which is the fear of death? Yeah. Then it would be easier for us to make different decisions for ourselves. Right. The second thing I want to bring forward is, you know, Christopher talked about this box, and that's so important. Like, when people want to leave, like, the box is designed that it makes everything easy and everything is clear. Go to school, go to college, go to university, get married, get a job, and then die, right? It's so simply laid out. And if someone's going to stay in the box, that's exactly what they're going to experience. But life itself isn't so linear. It isn't so systematic. It's kind of like a garden or a forest or, you know, the ocean. Like, you know, when they teach us in school how to draw trees, I bet you anything, we all draw the same tree, right? It's like this bark that has that squiggly line that makes it a bush. But, you know, when you go into the forest, each tree comes out very differently. Some are going up straight, some are diagonal. And the ways of the ocean are the same. They're never the same. So when you decide to become a free spirit and choose your soul's calling, life is going to be like the wave of the ocean. Every day is going to be different. So there's not going to be this linear, comfort, systematic life. Yeah. And the more you get comfortable with being free, the easier it is for you to get out of the box. And you know what? That's where you're really going to have fun. That's where you're going to really enjoy it. Because at the end of the day, if a person is connected to their soul, that is the grandest wealth. Yeah. There is no grander wealth than that.
Yeah. A lot of the time, the box that we have as well, we make it ourselves. We make that box, we shield it. And sometimes we make it very high so that other people can't climb in, you know, and we nail it shut too. And sometimes we do this without realizing that we're doing it. And this is why I said to you about when I left and I started traveling and somehow ended up in the Middle East, which is a beautiful journey of its own. But it's all about what's right, you know, all about divine timing. And it's funny what you're saying, because I also ended up writing my own books. I ended up doing the podcast show, and I ended up doing lots of different things: coaching, counseling, life coaching, things I always wanted to do, and now I've done it. So you can put your mind to it. You can let these things flourish. And a lot of it is because you're calling it to you as well. You know, you're attracting that to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I can relate to what you're saying, Nada, also about, you know, leaving an abusive relationship. I did divorce myself. I went through a very, very difficult journey of a narcissistic marriage. And it took me a long time
Bless
to divorce. You. Thank you. And at the time, it was a very, very difficult journey because I couldn't easily divorce that individual because they lived in another country with very strict rules, you know, from a woman trying to divorce, if you get my drift. And now I realize that I was meant to do that because I've helped so many other women also leave abusive, narcissistic individuals. And I was joking to one of my friends saying I've turned into a divorce coach without realizing it. But actually, on a serious level, people don't get it. People don't understand the hardships that a female would go through. I understand there's hardships that a guy goes through as well from that perspective. But when you're going through it from a cultural point of view, religion point of view, or from a feminine point of view, there is a lot of red tape that you can and can't discuss. You know what I mean? So it's nice to mention that, you know. And go on, Nada, sorry.
No, I just wanted to acknowledge you and, you know, to celebrate you for constantly choosing yourself day in, day out, and, deciding to fulfill your life purpose. This podcast is amazing. And, whoever's listening to this, keep listening, because this is beautiful. And I can feel your energy. You're such a beautiful, loving woman. So God bless you a million times.
Thank you.
And, leaving a toxic marriage, like I work with women in relationships. I'll tell you something, like women are so afraid to leave toxic marriages. And they'd rather be abused than to be single, because they don't want people to talk about them. They don't want all the stuff that comes with the divorce label, right?
Yeah.
But you actually choosing your sanity and your safety and your health, like, I salute you for that. And this is a very courageous move, and you should be very proud of yourself, because this is the beginning of self-love. A lot of women stay in abusive relationships because, they forget how valuable they are, because that's what happens with narcissists, right?
Yeah.
But you remembering, hey, wait a minute, I deserve better, and making that decision and actually taking that action, like, that's a lot of courage. So good on you for doing that.
Thank you. And the other thing I found is not many people voice it either. When they do get out, they keep it stum. One of the things I decided to do was write a chapter in a book about it that's become like a bit of a bestseller in the Middle East. So it's not quiet anymore, but it's not meant to be, because obviously all of us, like I said to you, we're all here to help others. We're here to help those people that don't have a voice. We're here to help people that find it difficult. And that's one of the beautiful things I liked and loved about the different courses that you offer, because one of my friends invited me for she's doing a spiritual festival back home. And I'm definitely going to be there as a guest speaker. And I think it's beautiful that she's invited me over, because obviously that is another opportunity for spiritual connections to meet again. Same with the two of you. It feels like this is meant to be, which is nice.
Absolutely.
So I want to just...
Absolutely.
Thank you. I just want to conclude, and say that it's been lovely to have you both on show. I have a feeling it won't be the last time. What would be your final message, both of you, just to anyone listening in? Obviously, we can put your biography details there about how to get in touch with you. Nada, what would be your, not last, obviously, but your message out to anyone listening in?
So whoever's listening, I want you to just take a moment and remember that you are amazing. You are incredible. You are a fabulous, fantastic, miraculous, perfect design. You are perfection itself. And never let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let your own mind convince you otherwise. And choose yourself day in, day out. Because to be honest, you deserve to give yourself the best. And if we don't give ourselves the best, no one's going to give it to us. So choose today, in this moment, to give yourself the best. And whatever you do, love yourself day in, day out. And thank you so much for being present with us today and for listening to us.
Thank you. Chris, what about you? What would be your message?
Well, Nada's message was absolutely perfect. And what I would like to add to it is just for people to really take action in their life. One thing that is the most important thing anyone can do for themselves is to take action. So for everyone listening that want to achieve or want to experience a different life, whatever goals you have in your mind, take action towards those goals. And have consistent action towards those goals, because that is how you bring your dreams into reality. So going after what it is you want in life, going after what you want to experience in life, and living your grandest life is all available to every single one of you. It's there. It will always be there. All you have to do is to take the steps and put in the work to achieve what you want to achieve.
Brilliant.
Beautiful. I love that.
Brilliant. Beautiful messages from the both of you. Obviously, in the biography, we're going to have all your contact details on there. It has been an absolute honour having you both on the podcast show. And I'm sure, listeners, obviously internationally, will be tuning in to this podcast, and they can get in touch with you. And I'm sure we're going to have you both back on the show at some point further down the line as well. Thank you both, Nada and Christopher. Thank you so much for being on here. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we've opened up people listening in as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm so happy that, we got to be a part of this. Thank you for inviting us into your world and for being a part of our.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.